everything just changed. I think everything just became worse than ever, because as I told you earlier on, that I had a very special connection. I was so close to my dad, and I started drinking a lot, and I felt like, okay, right, I'm an adult now, I'm big enough and stuff like that, causing troubles. Back in the hood, remember that same thing clicked again, that you always used to have a gang and stuff like that. Yeah, well, most of the guys had grown up, but also in the same pool, same situation, drinking, smoking weed, but it became really worse after losing my dad. But from there, I actually became strong. My cousin took me away from the hood. They said, you know what, let's see if we can go get some work somewhere, because at that time, we never had enough money to go to varsity, because NSFAS is something new, it just came recently and stuff. So I had to go and work and do something just to look after my mom, because that was the most important thing. My mother started suffering, like, as my dad was the only one who was working at that time.
Sure.
So yeah, it really hurt me really bad, but it came back to my senses. I stopped drinking. I only drank occasional, but I never stopped smoking cigarettes and weed. I never stopped smoking weed, because it just calmed me down at that time.
Sure.
I started working up until I decided, you know what, my mother's not really feeling well.
Sure.
I really need to get someone who's going to be able to assist my mom at home. Like,
what are you doing here as work?
I was working. It was a construction, basically. So what I was doing is I was working as a foreman. I was the very youngest, but because of I was educated. I went to school. That's why my boss actually liked me to actually look after the workers, because most of the people that I was working with were people who never went to school, so we never understood any English. So whatever duties that had to be done, he had to tell me, and I had to address it to the workers. So I was working as a foreman in the construction. What we were doing is we were building pavements, slate stones and pavements and stuff, but mostly concrete stuff.
Sure.
It was really hard labor at that time. First job. I really enjoyed it though. But it wasn't really my dream,
Sure.
I always saw myself, in the office and stuff like that, next to the computer and all that, because nobody in my family had actually done that work. They all came from hard labor, carpentries and bricklayers and stuff like that. Up until I done a computer course, 6 months and stuff like that. This was in Pinetown. I was living with my cousin after he took me from home, seeing that, you know what, the only way to save me is just to take me and get me a job. Saved up some money and I got a job. I saved up some money though, and I got to do a computer course, because there was, at that time, MTN was hiring. There was this new campaign that actually came up with Standard Bank and MTN, where you so I was lucky when I put my CV there and I got a learnership.
Sure. And throughout all this time, you're drug free?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I got a learnership with MTN in Joburg. I started working from there, and I got my certificate as customer service and all that. I started earning, much better, looking after my family, and I got a girlfriend. And we got a baby, and I decided to pay lobola and stuff like that. And she went home to look after my mom and stuff like that. Things were just cool. I only used to come down home during school or holiday. It's not during, especially month ends, and Easter holidays and Decembers and stuff like that. And yeah, I tried to look after my mom, my family.
So your mom had gotten ill at this time, or just old age?
No, it was really old age.
When you say your girlfriend was looking after her, and
my mom wasn't really that old.
Okay.
She wasn't actually collecting any pension. She was still young to be collecting pension, but she was on a chronic condition at that time.
So illness.
Yeah, some certain illnesses.
Okay, okay.
Because of my dad. She had a stroke actually after my dad passed on. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so she had my girlfriend was actually looking after her in terms
Okay.
of that. I was just making sure that I was putting the funds, making sure that the funds are available and stuff like that. And then from there, I graded. I left MTN. I got a better job, but especially with call centers. I worked for different companies in Joburg, doing different campaigns. Short-term and long-term insurances. I made a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's where the problem starts. Once you start earning a lot of money and you start getting influence and you see your colleagues doing things like drugs and stuff like that, when we have these team buildings or whatever gatherings that we had, I started learning these things. I don't actually know that what I was doing actually at that time, because everything was fine, but I just got influenced because I could see the money.
Also, but what is it with these environments? Because it's a thing that is, I would say it's like a well-kept, well-known, well-kept secret, though, in terms of like the call center environment, that call center, we're just doing drugs,
That's, I don't know, man. I can't tell you, but that environment is not a good environment because of that, because of drugs. I think it's because so much money that people make, they don't even know what to do with it.
Okay.
They end up trying some things that they've never before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Drugs is not for poor people, what I noticed.
Okay.
It's for people who got the money or people who can afford it. Especially rich people. What I actually noticed. So, because we sometimes like things, we always want to try out some things, and we end up getting hooked up.
Yeah.
And stuff like so. That's why a lot of us, end up get hooked up and addicted. End up stuck like that.
Yeah.
For some reason and stuff like that. But besides,
so you're in this environment, and then people are taking stuff.
People are taking some stuff and all that, and I end up getting hooked up into the stuff, and next thing I see myself, underperforming, not really underperforming, but staying out of work or even absconding, because remember, you spend so much money up until you get broke. You don't even know, you haven't even paid your rent, your bills and stuff like that. You started going to loan sharks, borrowing some money, having different loan sharks because you want to cover your habits and make sure that you want to go to you want to go to work, you want to pay your bills, and you also want to cover your habits and stuff like that. It's all just a mess. It was all just a mess and stuff like that. But what really killed me the most is that environment, or being influenced with those kind of people. It really got me into this situation where I don't know how I can explain, but I can see you can actually see for yourself.
For sure.
But
for sure.
all started there, basically.
Sure. So take me back. Do you remember, like, your first time, or maybe one of your first times, to that day where you actually tried some of the stuff that these people are on here around you?
I remember the first time, basically, a friend of mine who he's the one who actually, he was old in the game, basically. So I was actually new. So him, he used to earn a lot of money, like 50, 60K every month.